Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us on, wow, already July announcements. Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. We've had some major storms roll through, so there may be some technical difficulties, but there is some great stuff we want to share with you tonight. Let's do some shout outs. I see Jake here, Donnie, Matt's Conrail's Chicago Mainline, Chad, DG Model Works is in the house, and let's see who else is joining us here this afternoon. I see Robert Frox and James, just to name a few. So thank you for joining us on this afternoon's live for July announcements. Now, you're going to have until Friday, the 28th, to pre-order everything that we talk about today. Now, keep in mind, this is the new announcements video. We will go into detail on these subjects later on Train Tuesday. Now, keep in mind, starting July 4th, Train Tuesday is going to be pre-recorded because myself and the Athearn crew are going to be busy being on the road and going to shows. So for the summer, we're going to kind of take a vacation. We're going to do Train Tuesday as a pre-recorded, but it will still drop every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central. So let's do one more round of shouts and see who's out there today. Let's see. I see Jerry, Derek, Around the Layout Podcast is here. Cody, Abel, John, Union Pacific 1943, Ryan, Matt, Santa Fe 2926 Productions, Ron, Taylor, John, Thomas, Jason, Chris, YZF Mike, and Rainier, Donnie, BN Green 1970, just to name a few. So thank you for joining us. I hope you're as excited about what we have to show you today as I am. I bet a few of our announcements kind of caught some of you guys by surprise. These here in particular. These are the SD70ACes that have just recently been repainted. Now, we got a lot of folks asking us to release these in HO because, you know, there's a lot of contemporary modelers out there. So we wanted to go ahead and get this done. Now, fortunately for us, Janik, one of our top researchers and product managers on the West Coast, is real close by to these and got some really great images of these locomotives. So that made the research extremely easy. So here we go. We're going to be doing 4 different versions, and you can see each one has small little things about it. 8478 and 8518. You can see some slight differences in the flag on the nose. We're also going to be offering 8522 and 8588. Again, you're going to see some slight variations in the paint. It's a new paint scheme that they unveiled in 2022, and we're excited to offer these to you guys for pre-order. Now, a lot of you guys also in the comments section had been asking for the heritage units. And you know what? We thought with the refinements that we've done with the SD70ACes and the SD70M-2s, why not? Let's do another run of heritage units. We did a few that were the most requested. So here we've got the 30th anniversary number 1030. And then we've got 1065, which is the Savannah and Atlanta. And of course, that Erie. That Erie is just an awesome paint scheme. Jersey Central guys, you've been bugging us like crazy to do this unit again. So I'm happy to say product development went ahead and got this on the table as well. So this will be offered in part of this pre-order for July. And then last but not least, Penn Central, which has been seeing a lot of love lately. Penn Central, Conrail, both. We wanted to do Penn Central for you guys as part of the heritage units. And again, these are going to have the updates that you're used to. You're going to have the illuminated number boards, the truck lights, and of course the metal etched steps. Okay, I know you guys, this is a very polarizing subject. Either you love these things or you hate these things. These, of course, Southern Pacific never had these locomotives, but there's still a few of us around that always wonder what would happen to our favorite railroads if they had not become a fallen flag. And it's likely, logically, to believe that Southern Pacific would have picked these guys up. And so they're being offered in their last paint scheme that was in use before they got swallowed up by the UP. We're offering two different numbers on these, 814 and 890. So SP fans, if you want to model a world that doesn't include the Union Pacific taking over your favorite railroad, you can definitely allow that to happen. So that's not all that we have for SD70s. We've got plenty more too. And I bet a lot of guys were thinking on the Northeast that we're always forgetting you. Well, stay tuned. Here we've got some Progress Rail. We'll talk about these in detail in an upcoming Train Tuesday. Here's 2115 and 2121. And how many saw the Suzy Q? So yes, the Suzy Q does have two of these. I'm talking about, of course, the Susquehanna. The Suzy Q, as it's known by the locals, they've got two of these units, and we're going to be offering them both. Kind of neat to see this paint scheme come back. If you're familiar with the Suzy Q, you're probably familiar with the Bumblebee or Yellow Jacket, depending on where you're from, calling it. These are going to be offered as well. And the one that really surprised a lot of people, yeah, Providence and Worcester. Now, if I were to pronounce it correctly, it's Providence and Worcester. These units are now in the Genesee and Wyoming corporate colors. We're offering both numbers here. These are a little bit more contemporary, 2021 on up. And what about these? How many saw these coming? New Brunswick Southern, and we're offering 6 different variations on these. I know a lot of guys are really excited. We saw a lot of good comments on Instagram and Facebook. So, yeah, in fact, I'm seeing some comments now. They will have 18 of those SD70M-2s by year's end. Glad to see a company finally make them. Well, you're welcome. We actually had a lot of requests in the Athearn product suggestion email. So thank you for sending those emails in. We're really happy to oblige. Here's a few that we're offering in this run, and there's subtle differences between these. We'll talk about them on an upcoming Train Tuesday. But you can see some are lettered for Eastern Maine, Maine Northern, and really cool units. All right, so there you have it. There's the SD70ACes as well as the SD70M-2s. July 4th, we'll be talking about these in detail, so be sure to tune in for that. And let's see what else we've got for this month. Time for the MP15s. Now, the MP15s that we had updated and had announced a couple of years ago, those are finally hitting the dealers' shelves now. Now, some of them, like some of the select Milwaukee Road and some of the CSX units, they're coming a little bit later, but they are on their way. They should be here early July. However, we've got some of the other MP15s actually in stock at your dealers now. Now, when we first announced these last year, we had a lot of you request the UPY switcher paint scheme, something that goes on from about 2013 on. And so we wanted to go ahead and give you that option. And of course, you'll notice that with the Union Pacific units, they're going to have both front and rear working ditch lights. That's something else that you guys were asking for. Also, we're going to announce, or we're going to have 3 different Southern Pacific units that we're going to offer in this run. Here you can see 2727, 2734, and 2751. Obviously, these will not have ditch lights. These are an earlier version of these locomotives. And Sioux Line, guys, we heard you. We heard a lot of you guys asking for Sioux Line. These are probably one of the sharpest looking ones in this announcement, in my opinion. The Sioux Line, we're going to offer 3 different versions, or 3 different road numbers. Yes, you can see the beacon on top of the cab on these. Those will function if you go with the Tsunami 2 versions. And another one a lot of you guys probably didn't see coming. New York and Atlantic Railway. That's kind of a cool paint scheme. We had some requests for these. So we're going to offer these. And of course, this is a contemporary railroad. You're going to have both front and rear facing operating ditch lights, operating as long as you get the Tsunami 2 versions. And for you guys that really like the MP15, but maybe we didn't offer your railroad, these are perfect for that. These GATX leasing locomotives can be found all throughout the United States and Canada. Generally, they'll help out on short lines. So if you have your own short line, you can definitely take your pick here. We've got a couple of different versions with different variations. And again, we'll talk about those on upcoming Train Tuesday. But briefly, we've offered the all black 319 for you, as well as the light blue 333 and the slightly darker 335. If you look carefully, though, you're going to see there's differences in the details based on their heritage. We're going to talk about those. All three units will have operating ditch lights both on the front and the rear. So there you have it. We've got some MP15s for you. A lot of good stuff. Let's move on to some freight cars. All right, how about some 60-foot ICC high cube box cars? We've got a little bit of everything here for you, from the 1970s to right about 1980s. So guys, if you're modeling up to the 1990s at CSX1, that'll work for you as well. Of course, the chassis we're offering, 1970s era. All of these are going to be offered in 3 different road numbers each. So if you really like that chassis, you can get all 3 of those chassis boxcars, each with their own individual road number. Likewise, 1990s modelers, CSX, you've got 3 road numbers that you can add to your fleet, perfect for 1990s era modeling. Here next, we've got Louisville and Nashville. And we're going to offer these. This is a 1980 paint scheme. We're going to offer these in 3 different road numbers. And also, sticking in that same era, 1980, we've got the Mopac. We've got Missouri Pacific, also available with 3 different road numbers. So again, perfect cars to add to your fleet, especially since we're offering them in 3 different road numbers each. And then last but not least, we have got some Norfolk Western. This is 1977 era. These would last throughout, even after Norfolk Southern was a thing. We're going to offer these 1977 era paint scheme versions in 3 different road numbers. And then last but not least, yes, there's a legendary liveries in there. The Rock never had these, but what if they did? What if the Rock Island had continued? This is what it would look like in the 1970s, late 1970s into the early 1980s. It's plausible, if the Rock Island had moved on and not become a fallen flag, they could certainly have had these. We're going to offer these in 3 different road numbers. So if you really like these Rock Island ones, you can definitely add 3 different versions to your fleet. All right, that is it for the Athearn HO 60-foot high cube boxcars. Let's see what else we have in our model train goodness. All right, how about some reefers? Now we're going to be offering these in both HO and N scale. I'll start with the HO. We've got some Santa Fe versions. These are 1940 to 1950s. I will give you a hint. We're offering these because later this year we're going to be making an announcement of something that would be absolutely appropriate to run as head-end power for these cars. So keep that in mind. The first one that we have here is a Santa Fe paint scheme that was used from 1940 into the 1950s. We're offering 3 different road numbers for this car. We're also offering a Santa Fe maintenance of way car. You can see that in the middle there. Again, 1940s to 1950s era. 3 different road numbers offered for that particular paint scheme. And then there's a Railway Express agency. This too is a 1940s to 1950s. 3 different road numbers available for this car. Moving on, we've got 3 more in the HO scale version. We've got something that's a little bit newer up there. You can see 1971 era Burlington Northern Western Fruit Express. Old cars, but they're still being used in the late 60s into the early 70s. These are going to be offered in 3 different road numbers. Up next is a 1940s through 1950s Wilson paint scheme, 3 different road numbers for that as well. And then a Fruit Growers Express. This one is also a 1940s to 1950s. So really all of these are steam era with the exception of the Burlington Northern. We wanted to offer the Burlington Northern one just because it's kind of a cool car. And there are some guys out there that have been asking for these. So those are the HO scale versions. We're going to move on to the N scale versions. So N scale guys, sit tight. Same cars. You're going to have the choice of the 1950s, 1940s into the 50s era Santa Fe, as well as the maintenance away car and the Railway Express agency car, just like the HO guys, as well as that Burlington Northern 1971 era, and the Wilson and the Fruit Growers Express from the 1940s into the 1950s. Now, the N-scale cars will have body-mounted couplers. They will also have trucks that are attached to the car frame with screws. They're not those button-head plastic things. They're actually screwed to the chassis, so they track a little bit better, easier to fine-tune as well. So again, you can get these by pre-ordering through your dealer from today until Friday, the 28th of July. All right, for you guys that are into something a little bit more modern, we've got some 48-foot containers for you. This is in, we're offering these in HO and N scale. First one you see here is the Allied truck lines. We're offering these in a 3-pack and 2 different 3-packs. So you've got 2 different sets of Allied that you can choose from. And of course, those are all going to be individually numbered, so there will be no duplicates in each pack. American President lines. This is one you used to see a lot. All right, fans of the 80s into the 90s, you're going to want to pick up some of these. These used to be all over the place. Used to see these a lot in Rochelle. And likewise, also the BN America. So a lot of you guys that were rail fanning in the 90s, you probably remember these. These are going to be available in both HO and N. Here's CN Intermodal. If you're a fan of intermodal modeling in the 1990s, we've got you covered this month. We've got a little bit of everything. We've got the Canadian National here. We've also got a CP rail version. And again, those are our HO versions. We also have them in N scale too. So N scale guys, don't lose the faith. We've got you covered. We've got the Allied and the American President lines. America's Transport Group. I mean, you've got to remember these if you were rail fanning in the 90s. These were all over the place. Of course, the BN America, Canadian National, and CP as well. So there you have it. We've got a pretty packed month full of items. If there's something that you didn't see that's necessarily your cup of tea, don't worry. Maybe next month will be something that you've been looking for. But with that, I've got some time for some questions. Move this over here so I can see your questions. And let's see who's up with some questions here. Walter wants to know how many of those American Transport Group containers were there. Man, you know, I don't know off the top of my head. There's probably a book out there that would cover it, but I can tell you, rail fanning in Rochelle, Illinois, back in the late '90s, it seemed like they were everywhere. They were definitely everywhere. Alco Man Kyle says CNs are nice. Thank you for that. Calculated Snipe says, will you guys offer some unexpected items soon? Well, what do you mean by unexpected? If you mean like a brand new model, yeah, we've got some stuff that we're working on. Let's see. Anybody that is looking to see when their items that they place pre-orders on, when they're going to be here, I know we've had a lot of delays, and I apologize for that. You can find that on our website at athearn.com. Go to the homepage and scroll down about halfway through, and you'll see a production schedule. If you select that, that'll give you an idea of our ETAs. Now, those ETAs do change, but we're trying to keep them as close as possible. Yeah, that's true. If I tell you, then they won't be unexpected. That's a good point. I'm just going to keep you guessing. All I can tell you is research and product development has been super, super, super busy. MP15's an N scale? No. I wish. As a fellow N scaler myself, I would absolutely love to have these in N scale. Now, does that mean we will never have them in N scale? No, that doesn't mean that. You never know. That might be one of those unexpected surprises we spring on you. We hear you, though. We've had a lot of requests for them. Also, too, any requests that you have as far as I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to see this railroad. Don't forget our Athearn product suggestion email. That's the best place to put those. That goes straight to product development, and they'd be more than happy to get your information. They will not always reply to you just because, they're busy doing their research and development, but they definitely do appreciate your comments and your ideas. Joel, you got me laughing again. Somebody needs to paint that. I think somebody needs to paint that. Any chance for CF7s in N scale? Not right now. I can tell you that much. Have we had requests for them? Yes. Do we have the bandwidth to do that right now? Probably not. But we have seen those comments. So that doesn't mean no. That just means not at this time. No Western Maryland, no Crazy Mary in this announcement, unfortunately. But stay tuned. That's not a railroad that we have forgotten about. Let's see what else we've got for questions. Terry's got a question here. He says, have you already talked about the Savannah Atlanta SD70ACe? No. We'll go into detail on that on Train Tuesday. The purpose of this quick video is just kind of show you what's out there for pre-order for this month. And then we'll go into detail on Train Tuesday. We usually pick one or two subjects. And I can tell you that the July 4th episode of Train Tuesday, that's going to be all about the SD70s and SD70M-2s. Bob, I'm not quite sure what you're asking other than you know that there's a Lehigh Valley GP9. If you're asking if those are in stock yet, or if that's something that you want for a suggestion, you can definitely send us an Athearn product suggestion email. We've got some GP18s, though, in stock. They just came in. Actually, no, they're still on their way, but they should be here probably next week or so at your dealer. So not a GP9, but very similar. If you're looking for a GP18 that's in Lehigh Valley, that might help. So that's real simple. It's Athearn-product suggestion at athearn.com. That's the direct email. You can also go to our website. Go to our website at athearn.com. Go to the Contact Us page. You're going to have a form to fill out. I know we all hate forms, but it's a fun form. You fill out that form, and there is a drop-down menu of items that you can choose as to what your request is about. And one of those requests is for product suggestions. So use that. Use the product suggestion drop-down, and there you have it. That's going to go right to product development. I knew I would get this one. The heritage units that CSX is doing. Yeah, they just unveiled Seaboard lines yesterday, I saw. Pretty cool. I mean, that one looks really nice. Will we do those? That's going to be up to the guys in product development. There's a possibility. We might want to wait too and see what CSX does before we commit to anything. But there's a couple of options out there already, and they look pretty cool. No steam in this run, but stay tuned. The year is not over yet. We're only halfway through the year. Let's see. James wants to know, how about a Western Maryland SD70ACe? We could. We did an ES4 in Western Maryland about 2 or 3 years ago, and they sold really well, so that's a possibility. Tom, I see your question every time. I'm going to put it up again. How are the blue Rock Island Jeeps coming? The GP15s, unfortunately, the Rock Island Rail, they have been delayed, unfortunately. We're looking at, I think, next spring. But as far as like regular Jeeps in blue, nothing yet. Nothing yet. Got a lot of questions coming in, so I want to grab as many as I can. Thomas wants to know, would we or could we do unnumbered units? We've done that in the past, a long time ago. And I believe we even put in the decals for the numbers for those units. And believe it or not, as many requests as we got, they didn't sell all that well. Now, does that mean we'll not do it again in the future? Not necessarily. However, that being said, if you're handy and if you're used to using decals and such, we have a video on our YouTube account showing you how to get the lettering from a factory locomotive or freight car off easily without ruining the finish, the paint, and then that way it's left wide open for you to decal your own. So that's pretty much why we haven't done it again. We didn't have the best sales in those in the past, and it's pretty easy to remove those numbers. So check out that video if you want to over at our YouTube account, and it's real simple. Got some new comments coming in. Oh, Richard, sorry you missed most of it, but don't worry. As soon as we're done with this video, it drops on our YouTube channel. And by the way, if you go to our YouTube channel and you like what you see, do us a favor, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you know every time a Train Tuesday drops or whatever other video that we're working on. We're going to have some live streams coming up, and that'll give you guys an opportunity to participate. We've got some events coming up here in just about a week or so, and so be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. Terry wants to know, what about a rerun of the Chessie AC4400? It's a possibility. There's some other roads, though, that we're probably going to want to do. That was one that we did part of our legendary liveries. And, yeah, they sold really well. However, there's also some prototype stuff that we want to do as well. So we're probably going to work on some prototype stuff first before we do some more legendary liveries. Tim's asking about the P42s and the 50th anniversary. Yeah, I feel your pain. There's a lot of us even here that are waiting on those. Latest date that I heard is we're trying to get those in by the end of the year. Unfortunately, I can't promise that. We're looking probably first quarter of next year. But that could change. So just keep your eyes peeled on our Athearn website under our production schedule. Anytime we get new information, anytime we get stuff that gets that pushed to the front, we'll put it on our website so you guys know. Richard, thanks for being a subscriber on our YouTube channel. We definitely appreciate that. Spencer says, hey, the SD70M-2s and the Genesee and Wyoming corporate scheme, finally, I've been waiting for those. Well, thank you. You're probably one of the folks that used our Athearn product suggestion email, so we appreciate that. Let's see, another valid question. I'm excited about the the SW1500s. I'm excited for these. So when are they going to come in? Well, I don't have any updated ETAs for you other than what we've seen on the website and the production schedule. But again, we are working on some things behind the scenes to try to push a lot of these older announcements forward and trying to get those in. So I know it's been frustrating for a lot of us, myself included, waiting for these to come in. I don't know about you, but every time a new batch of Athearn locomotives and product comes in, it's like Christmas to me. I get all excited, and the product development guys are excited too. Recently, we started sharing some pictures of the AC4400s. That was product development. They were looking at early samples. And in the past, it's kind of a two-edged sword. I was not always for it because they're not finished samples. They're going to have flaws. That's just the nature of the beast. But we figured as a group it was better to show you what we're working on, as long as we acknowledge to let you know these are just samples. They're being tested for various things. And as long as you know they're just tests, we're going to put them out there. So we're going to try to do that more in the next coming weeks and months. It looks like you guys really enjoy that. And so keep your eyes open for that. We'll be putting some more stuff in there. I know John, Janik, and the guys have been super busy with some new samples. So we'll probably see some pictures of those here pretty soon, next coming weeks. Let's see what else we've got. Robert, yeah, be careful. Don't watch the blood pressure. You don't want to get too excited about that. William, thank you for that. One of the things that all of us manufacturers have a hard time doing, and I can say from experience, Athearn and other manufacturers, we're model railroaders too. I mean, we work here because we were model railroaders. And yeah, we want to make sure that what you get is right, because we're basically selling to brethren, if you will. I know all the guys on the product development side, as well as the research side, they have a commitment to make sure that they send the best quality items they can. Doesn't mean that we always get it right. We are human. There are going to be mistakes, but we try to correct those mistakes. And this is one of those things where we want to make sure everything is absolutely as good as we can get to make sure that we live up to what we've told you about in our announcements. And so thank you for that. Now, we're definitely not going to rush it, but we definitely want to make sure that we can get that to the forefront and get it to your layout as soon as possible. SB Scotty says, thank you for offering the SD70ACes. I've been waiting for those for years. Well, thank you. If you send us a product suggestion email, there you go. There's your thank you. It's kind of like a digital jukebox. You walk up to the jukebox, you put in your, I'm dating myself, you put in your quarter and you select your song, and it might play right away. It might play after 4 or 5 other songs in front of it, but eventually, if we get enough requests, we will produce them. So you are welcome. Will the KCG Rail Gilbert wants to know, Jim, will the Heritage units have flashing ditch lights? Well, they are Athearn Genesis. So if Athearn Genesis, as you know, it's prototype specific. Now, in the real world, Norfolk Southern has alternating ditch lights when the horn is depressed or horn is blown. That's kind of an East Coast thing. Yes, these will come from the factory with the alternating ditch lights per the prototype. So the other thing too, I didn't mention this. I failed to mention this. Since these guys are still roaming the rails, they have since gotten PTC antennas, and we're actually offering these for the first time with PTC antennas. So these are, even though these are 2012 era paint schemes, for you modern guys, for you guys that are modeling contemporary time period, you've got the PTC antennas. So that's really cool. And I think we're also going to be offering that as a separately available part. So we'll talk about that on Train Tuesday. Gary, I kind of laugh. You're talking about a U30 CG. I think you've been talking to Tony Cook. Interesting locomotive. I don't think we'll be doing anything like that in the near future, but interesting locomotive nonetheless. Charlie, I think you've got a lot of great ideas in N scale. None of those right now. We do have some N scale stuff in the works, but not in those roads that I'm aware of. But stay tuned. We've got plenty of things to work on in both HO and N scale. Will those GMTX MP15 roof strobes work as well? Yes, if you go for the Tsunami 2 versions, most definitely. No spine cars this month, Terry. All right. Harold, thank you for that. Yeah, you still have till today on anything that we talked about on Train Tuesday in June, including those coal hoppers that we talked about just a few days ago. So I always say that the last Friday of the month is one of the most exciting months for us hobbyists, because we can go to our local hobby shop, or we can call our preferred hobby shop online, and we can place the pre-orders from June, and as well as get a jump on July. So Harold, thank you for that. We appreciate your business. And yeah, don't forget, you can still order June right up until about midnight or so. Any Ford Falcons coming up soon? Probably not. Not a lot of demand for those, unfortunately, in HO or N scale. Probably more of a demand for Tauruses or Fairmonts, really. I think a Falcon would almost be considered transition era in the HO scale world. And we're getting a lot of requests actually for more modern and 70s to 80s models. I know personally I model in the 1970s into the 80s, and it's real hard to find just average everyday cars and trucks in that era. So trust me, we are looking into some things. And also, you guys that have been asking on social media about, hey, how about Max? How about Freightliners? How about Peterbilts? We are still trying to pursue some licensing on that. Unfortunately, it does take quite a while, so bear with us on that. But we definitely are listening to you guys. We hear you. Sid, I don't have any updates for the tunnel motors for you yet, but I appreciate you joining us and every Tuesday and every time we've got something going on. Hopefully, Sid, we will have something here for you soon. Let's see. William seems to support the 70s. Yeah, we do see a lot of folks. It's funny, especially in HO, transition era was king for so many years. It's still one of the most popular, according to a survey that we sent out a couple of weeks ago. It's still one of the biggest eras, but the 1970s and 1980s is really starting to gain some popularity. I'm gonna say it's a lot of us Gen X guys that are getting older, and we remember the 70s and 80s, much like the older baby boomers remembered the steam transition era. I think that's why we're seeing that. That being said, too, we're still seeing a lot of guys asking for 90s and contemporary too. So we're trying to get those surveys out there to make sure that when we do pull some action for a specific vehicle or a specific freight car or locomotive, that we're getting that right era that's going to fit the biggest gap. All right. Tom's commenting. He's just got those Sandersville Pullman Standards 5344 box cars today. Fantastic. Thank you, Tom. I'm glad you like those. Yeah, those are nice. I ordered a few of those myself, and I'm glad to hear you like them. Charles says, how about auto rack cars and N scale? We've done some. In fact, I think we still have some available both at dealers and at Athearn.com. However, those are predominantly mid to late 60s versions. So they're going to have the open sides and they're going to have the open tops. If you want something more modern, we have offered the, wow, the name escapes me off the top of my head. The Automax. We've offered that both in HO and N scale. That's something that came about in the 90s. Standard like Gunderson, modern style auto carriers, we don't have those in either HO or N scale right now. Was it something that we may add to the collection? There's a possibility, but nothing is on the table right now that I know of. No lit number boards on the MP15s. They will have truck lights, however, but not number boards. Frederick's waiting for the SD45-2 5704 Bicentennial. We just took pictures of those in the studio Wednesday. So they should be available now. They should be at the dealers. So if you pre-ordered one of those, you should be getting a call from your dealer. If not, look at your favorite retailer, and they should have those. Tom, valid question. He says, how did the 1990s fare in your survey? Actually, really well. 1990s was a really interesting period in railroading. Of course, we were going through another series of mergers. Of course, we saw the IC go to the Canadian National. We saw Conrail getting broken up between CSX and Norfolk Southern, just to name a few. Of course, BNSF came into existence in 1995. The 1990s was a really interesting era for rail fanning. And so we're seeing that as well. We're seeing modelers asking for those types of things, say early BNSF or YN2 CSX and things of that nature. It's still not as popular as Transition or the 70s and 80s, but it is gaining popularity quickly. And that's only going to keep going. Matt's Conrail Chicago Mainline confirms his local hobby shop does have those Santa Fe Bicentennial SD45-2s. So he is seeing those already. I'll do a couple of more questions, and I'm going to let you get back to it because for some of us here in the States, it's going into a holiday weekend, the 4th of July or Independence Day. And so some of us have Monday and Tuesday off. If you do, maybe it's going to be hot enough that you can stay in the workshop and work on the layout. That's my goal anyways. Got some new comments coming in. Any contemporary Jeeps coming soon? I think we are working on something. I don't remember which ones they are, though. I think we will probably see something in the next month or two. Yeah, I answered this one earlier. They will have flashing ditch lights based on the prototype. Since they're Genesis, they're going to mimic the prototype. Richard, sorry about that. Some of us might get an extra day or two in the workshop. Sid wants to know, will there be any Ohio Central units in the future? That's a possibility. There's a possibility. All right, one more question. I'm going to let you guys get back to it and get a jump start on the weekend. Friday is the gateway to the weekend, and surely you guys have got some plans, as well as probably celebrating the holiday if you're here in the States. Let's see, we got Charles. You're full of ideas. I don't have anything for you as far as U30s and N scale, though, unfortunately. All right. Well, I'm going to let you guys get back to it. We had a good group of guys here today. I want to thank you for joining me on this Friday afternoon for the gateway to the weekend. Keep in mind, Train Tuesday will automatically drop on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. It will not be a live. It will be a pre-recorded broadcast. I'm going to be on the road starting next week and pretty much throughout the summer. So you never know where I'm going to end up. I'm going to be at Midwest Model next week, July 6th. Hope to meet some of you guys there. I think Tony Cook's going to join me there, as well as Mark Williams from Athearn. He's going to be there as well. And then that same weekend, I'm going to stop into Spring Creek for their biannual train show. Looking forward to that. Of course, the St. Louis RPM meet is coming up again. I've got a lot of work to do this weekend, so I'm going to do the same thing. I think I'm going to start working on some stuff for St. Louis. And remember, you have until the 28th to pre-order anything that we talked about here today. And you can always find more information about the details and some of the things that we're offering with our items at Athearn.com. So I want to thank you all for joining me. Until next time that we get to talk, be happy, be healthy, be safe, celebrate the holiday responsibly, and above all, high greens, everyone. Good night. Good afternoon.